Where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't care. Anywhere's fine. Ugh. Have you ever been in one of those conversations? Today we're going to talk about assertiveness and how to find the right balance. Welcome to Neuroconversant Leadership, where we talk about effective communication and leadership. I'm Jeremy Dorn, and I'd love to help accelerate the transition from excellent employee to confident manager and ultimately to effective leadership. So let's get started. So those conversations are very common where all three people are saying, I don't care, anything's fine, what do you want to do? And they are so frustrating. But I have to admit, that used to be me, and if I'm not careful, I'll fall right back into that. Some people are just naturally not assertive. Sometimes it's genetics, sometimes it is family upbringing, and some of it can be cultural. Some people are naturally assertive, and the conversation we just talked about wouldn't happen. If you asked them, they would tell you. But more likely than not, they would actually say before the question came up, hey, I'm planning to go to Francisco's for dinner. Who wants to come? And the interaction between two different types of people can seem great at first. That less assertive person doesn't necessarily need to make decisions, and that uncomfortable conversation where you're trying to figure things out never needs to happen. You just kind of get to follow along in the wake of the more assertive person, and that person is getting what they want. For a short period of time, whether in the workplace or meeting new people, it's fantastic for both sides. But it's going to wear thin. Eventually, the non-assertive person is going to want their voice to be heard. And the more assertive person is going to start wondering, why are they never telling me what they actually want? What are they keeping a secret? If you are one of the meeker people, or less assertive, there are generally two reasons for that. Sometimes you actually don't realize that you have an opinion. I'm from a very large family, and I was the youngest, so largely my opinion didn't matter. A decision was going to be made, I was going to go along with it, and I kind of got used to that. And then in college, I was having one of those conversations where no one would say what they wanted, and just to speed things up, I said, great, let's go to Burger King. Everyone's like, ooh, no, we're not going to Burger King. I said, okay, then where would you go? And then they all had an opinion. And I realized that they had opinions. They just didn't even realize they had it, which made me realize the same thing. Sometimes I have opinions, but they're not particularly strong, so I just kind of don't bother. What I suggest everyone in this situation like me does is practice. When someone asks you for your opinion, always have one, even if it's 51% to 49%. Have an opinion and state it with confidence. And what you'll find, much like I did, is the more willing you are to state your opinion, the more you'll realize that you have one in the first place. The second reason is being afraid of pushback or confrontation. Sometimes it's just easier to let it go and let the other person decide. But I've had times where eventually I would speak up about my opinion, and there were others who instantly agreed. They had been being overpowered by someone else's opinion. When I finally spoke up, they jumped on board, and it was more aligned with what they want. And the assertive person wasn't doing it on purpose. They weren't trying to control it, but no one else was speaking up. When I shared a different point of view, people were very happy about it because they got to realize that they wanted something different. I'll recommend that when you state an opinion, stop using qualifiers. Don't say, maybe it's just me or I could be wrong. Just state it. Say what you have to say what you want, say what you think. And draw on your convictions. Your wants and your opinions and your thoughts are all valid, and they deserve to be heard. Sometimes it's not even for yourself. Sometimes it's for others in the room or just other people that you work with. There may be others who feel the same way they do, and you sharing your opinion is going to help give them a voice as well. Sometimes it's hard to be convicted about your own wants and needs, but when you include other people, it can often help bridge that gap. And accept that you might not get it your way. Once I learned that I can state an opinion or a want, and even if I don't get it, it's going to be fine. It became much easier to state it. I realized that I wasn't going to have a conflict because I wasn't going to push too hard, but I at least wanted to put it out there confidently, and more often than I ever would have expected, I got what I actually wanted. For those of you who are more assertive, it makes sense. Sometimes there's just seems to be like a vacuum or silence, and it needs to be filled. If no one's making a decision, it's just a way to move things forward, to make that decision for them. And sometimes you're helping others by getting things focused. If this is you, again, it's a great quality to have. It's very much valued in the business world, especially, and in many other relationships. But just be careful not to be overly assertive. Sometimes I get overly assertive and I have to check myself. Yep, sometimes it happens. So the things that I recommend are, if a question comes up to the group, do not be the first person to speak. Try to be third. Try to let two other people speak first. There very well may be a silence when other people just aren't jumping in. It could even get uncomfortable. Let it get uncomfortable. The more uncomfortable it is, the more likely someone who is being a little more timid will step forward and say what they think. If you do have to be the first person to speak, ask a question rather than making a statement. Instead of saying, I want to go to Francisco's, say, hey, would anybody else be interested in going to Francisco's? And then see what they say. They may say, great. But you may see from their body language that they actually weren't thrilled with it. If that's the case, ask another question. Oh, okay, what would be better? If you lead with a question and try to really get an understanding of what they're wanting, then you now get to assert what you want and try to come to something that everyone can be happy with. In a business meeting, try to find a way to get everyone's opinion. If it's a small enough group, then usually when a question comes up, you can give everyone 1 or 2 minutes. Every single person's going to go. If it's not feasible, try coming up with a couple of options and taking a poll. Who thinks A? Who thinks B? Who thinks C? If someone's an outlier, try asking them why. Like, what makes you think that? Also, pay attention to body language. Again, the assertive people are going to speak up. Some of the non-assertive people are going to show you when they're interested or when they have something to say. Some body language things to look for are they leaning in or sitting up straighter? It means they're really paying attention. Do they have their head cocked to one side, which is what I do a lot when I'm thinking and many others do? It means they have got a thought in there. Are they nodding their head in agreement or shaking it in disapproval but not saying anything out loud? It's a pretty good indicator of what they're feeling. Or were their heads down and suddenly they look up and make eye contact. That's a great indicator that they either strongly agree or strongly disagree with one of the last things you said. All of those are signals that they have something on their mind. If it is appropriate to pull it out during the meeting, do so. But if it's not, make a note and ask them about it soon after. Sometimes people are going to be much more willing to share in a private setting than in a big group setting. But don't wait too long. No matter how good that idea was, they very well may forget. So whether you find yourself being more assertive or less assertive than the people around you, try to find a way to balance it. Be assertive enough that your voice gets heard and your thoughts are recognized, but not so assertive that you overpower them and they never get heard. It's going to take self-reflection and awareness of what's going on within you and within everybody else, but it will be well worth it. Thanks for listening. This is episode 98. I can't believe it. And I'm thinking about what I want to do for my 100th. And I'm thinking I want to do a best of episode. When this episode goes live, I will post some information about it on my LinkedIn page. And I will also seek feedback on what some of your favorite episodes are that I can highlight in my 100th episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to your feedback.